Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most celebrated figures in African American history. Martin Luther King fought for equality for all, no matter race, color, or creed. We may not be in a utopian society, but we are close to King's dream. The civil rights movement may have not been successful without a leader who is determined to achieve equality without harming others. Martin Luther King Jr. was born as Michael King on January 15, 1929. He later changed his name to Martin Luther after the German Reformation leader. Young Martin grew up in a religious household and he was taught love for all. It baffled him when he was a target of prejudice as a young child. King was very intelligent and he entered college at the age of 15. He received a degree of sociology from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. He excelled in academics and he was a vocal leader. He later went to Crozer Theological Seminary in Boston. While studying in Boston, King learned about Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi was an Indian leader who had helped India gain its independence from Great Britain. Like King, Gandhi used non-violent methods to protest. Also in Boston, King found love in Coretta Scott. The two later married and had 4 children together. They resettled in Montgomery, Alabama. It was in Montgomery where King first got the spotlight. King started advocating for civil rights when Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat for a white man on a Montgomery public bus. King organized, along with NAACP leaders, a boycott of the Montgomery public bus system. Since the majority of passengers were black, the bus system suffered majorly, but this submitted on December 21, 1956, when desegregation reached Montgomery's buses. It was a huge victory for King and the civil rights movement. King's finest hour came in 1963 when he gave his famous speech, "I Have a Dream." He gave the speech during the March of Washington, in which 250,000 people watched King speak in front of the Lincoln Memorial. It was symbolic as Lincoln was an important figure at freeing the slaves. The speech envisioned a society based on character, not color. 2 years later, in 1965, King was again on the move. This time, he's marching from Selma to Montgomery to advocate for voting rights. Unfortunately, police used force against protesters on what is now called Bloody Sunday. Protesters tried again, and this time with protection from the National Guard. A few months later, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson. King seemed to be making a lot of enemies. He received death threats on a daily. Unfortunately, a man of peace succumbed to violence. On April 3, 1968, King gave a speech titled, "I've Been to the Mountaintop" in Memphis, Tennessee. He was staying in the Lorraine Motel. One day later, King was standing out on his balcony when he was shot and killed by James Earl Ray. James Earl Ray was captured and arrested 2 months later. For many, his death was the final straw. His death sparked riots and protests across the country. King might have died from the bullet, but his legacy didn't. King was one of the most influential figures involved in the civil rights movement. He inspired millions and he gave a good reputation for the movement. He was the face of the era. While many looked to the negatives like the Black Panthers, King was proof guns were not needed for victory. His legacy still lasts today. He has a national holiday and has streets, schools, and memorials named after him. It's clear to see why he's honored in this way. Here are the sources I used for this presentation. My name is Jaskaran Sidhu, and I hope you enjoyed this video.